Hi everyone, welcome to the new tutorial. This one's all about how to render latex and shiny things. And I'll be using Wade King's artwork of Catwoman. He was nice enough to let me render this one, so that'll be a nice little collab.
So let's get a start. Here's Wade's line work. Absolutely beautiful work. Really, really well done there, Wade. I absolutely love this and I can't wait to get into it. So excited. So I really like how you've got nice and bold on the outside as well, but you got these nice fine details on the inside. Just really, that's very professional work there. So yeah, all right, well, let's get into it. So this is what I've done. I've done some flat colors. It probably won't all be exactly these colors, but I've just to start with, I just put that in. I'm not even sure about the wallpaper, whether it'll be that kind of purpley pink, but I'll figure all that out later. So for now, we're going to focus on the latex, obviously, so that'll be good. So one of the first things we're going to have to do is figure out a light source. So I've got this ball up here I've just put in, and I think the best thing that we can do is have it from coming above. I think it'll be more like something like that. So nearly front on but diagonally up, so I can still get those shadows underneath. And I think what I'll do toward the end as well, it'll give me a good chance to have a nice little rim light come all the way around the outside. So we could also do a really subtle reflective light underneath the bottom there as well to really top that off. So that's the kind of thing we're going to go for with her latex. So just make sure that you've got your flat colors all set up. If you have a look down here in my layers, but that's my base one. So then I've got the skin layer, okay? I got the skin, the lips, eyes, everything. I like to make everything on its own layer. So right now, I'm going to start rendering the latex. So I'll go to my base layer, and I control click. I'm going to make a selection now. And right above my base layer, I'm just going to go new. So a new layer right above it. And that's going to be my soft shading. When I always start off, no matter what it is, I'm going to render with some nice soft shading. It just gives me a big, it's kind of like a guide. All right, to start with, I'm going to sample this blue and I'll just show you, it's like a dark, it's going to be black eventually, but I'll just show you if I bring up my colors. So I like to make sure that this is sitting around the mid range of color. That's what I'm starting with. This is my starting point for my flat color. It needs to be sitting at a mid-tone. If I had my original base color set like this and it was already kind of darkish, and then I went through and had that and started doing my shading, I just feel like they're too similar and I really want to have more contrast. So what I want to do is, that's my mid-tone right there. I'm just going to pull it down a bit more, and that's going to be my shading color. See that? Now I can actually see the difference in the shading. You're probably thinking that Catwoman really needs to be dark, like her suit is pretty much black, but don't worry, we're doing all those adjustments later. This is how I start. I like to start medium, and then later on I'll do all the final adjustments. So again, I do have this medium tone right here, but I will be taking that down. This is what I'll be sampling, is a nice darker, deeper blue or near black. So I'll press OK, and on the new layer, when I start shading with this soft shading, you can see it's like really stands out. So that's what we're going to start doing. Now remember that little ball as a guide. That's how I'm going to try and do this entire body right now. So let's just throw it in, and I'm just going to have a rough guess, keeping in mind that my light source is coming from kind of frontways but above diagonally. So I'm going to definitely put some shadow under that thigh there and underneath. Really try and have it a bit more like that. And I'm really just going quite wide and broad with it. As I get to some areas like this, I'll probably make my pen a bit smaller, my brush, and then I can move up the leg a little bit more like that. There we go. So you see what I've been doing there? It's quite broad. I've really just softened it out completely. I've pulled in really thick in some areas, like fully, that's just fully covered in that area there because we don't need to. So what you can do if you want to is get your eraser out, a soft eraser, and start bringing some bits back if you want to. So like up that leg there, I might bring, a bit of that top bit back. So it's good to get your eraser back out and start going back over just a couple of things here and there. if you feel like you've pushed too hard in some places. So this leg here is going to catch a lot of light, and I feel like that knee, it's a nice shiny point, so it's going to be poking forward. We kind of want to have a bit more light hit that, so let's just erase that a little bit there, and I feel like that's okay now. That's not too bad. Alright, so now that I've got that, I can actually fade some of it back if I want to, with the opacity. So I just pull the opacity slider up and down if I feel like some parts are too strong, because I'm going to go over again with some solid, some thicker hard lines and make it a bit sharper. But those soft parts are really a good guide now. Now, there's a few different techniques that I could show you for this next bit. So basically, we are going to be doing some very solid kind of shading like this using a really heavy, sharp brush. So this is one way you can do it, and you can just start following the guide of that soft light and going around and just kind of fill it in really bold. And that's one way to do it. Or we can actually get, which is one of my personally favorites, get the lasso tool, and you just make selections using your eye as a guide, but don't go too slow like this. Don't try and make selections like this too slow, because you're going to end up a bit jittery. So I like to throw it in a bit quicker like that. You see that? A little quicker, and you get this really nice smooth selection. And then what you'll do is you can actually have a soft brush like this. Oh, and I'll need to snap it to the body, so I'll just Control, Alt, hold Shift, and tap on the base layer. That'll help snap it to this. And now I'm just fading in with a soft brush. Now the reason I like the selection is, let's just say for instance I was doing like this leg here, and I can have it come down. I can even start to think of the wrinkles in the pants there. So let's just say I made a selection like that around the base of the leg, and then I could start fading it in. But because I have a soft feathered brush, when I get to the end, I don't have to make it fully black and fully solid. I can do a little light kind of fade out or a gradient, so it blends just slightly at the end there, and that's a really cool touch as well. But basically what we're trying to do here is just think of the anatomy a little bit here and there, like the hip. So I just kind of went over the hip and into the waist, coming up now, and I'm going to try and just tuck that around the rib cage. So I'm thinking of that rib cage there and coming up. And what I'm doing is I'm literally just following my guide of my soft brush there. See the darkened parts of the soft brush? I'm kind of using them a guide, and we're going to do a hard, sharp version of that. But I'm not going all the way to the edge like here. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go halfway probably and push it more to the edge. So this is like the darker section. And once I've got my selection fully done, I've gone around and thought about the anatomy as well. So I've kind of considered all of that as I was making my selections. But yeah, once you've got it, I could go and do what I did with the brush and go around and have some soft gradient edges. You can do it like that, or you could just press fill if you want to and leave it like that. And then you could even go through, probably best with maybe a layer mask, and then you could get a soft brush and actually start chipping away at some parts to blend if you wanted to do it that way. So there are a few different ways of doing everything. This way is probably a bit better, because then you know you've got your solid selection. It's all there, and you can just go through and bring stuff back or erase it if you want to. So one thing you really want to keep in mind when you're doing latex or like this kind of material is latex material really acts like a little bit of a mirror in a way. Not as obvious as this. This is like a chrome ball, but you can kind of see as it comes around the edges and it swirls up around here, you're going to get these nice kind of white highlights that'll really be prominent and they'll bounce off. And you'll also have black dark shadows that'll also reflect from anything. If it was like a building structure or something like that, you're actually going to see it wrap around like a chrome surface or a latex kind of material as well. So, and then you'll also get these little shines randomly from light sources anywhere. So they'll be all over the place. So this is just the beginning. I really like to make, because she's going to have a black suit, I want to make sure that I cover a fair bit of this in pitch black. And then we're going to bounce a lot of little reflective lights off of these, so it's not so flat in a lot of areas. Now, one thing we really want to do as well is kind of blend a little bit more with these sharp edges. So I still really want to have some of them really obvious, but when it gets down to like this lower part, I kind of want that leg to fade or blend with the color underneath. So if I brought up that soft color more underneath, so I'll just hide that. This is our soft color. So if that's what it was, and now if I bring that to 100%, that's 100% there. So bring back our solid. I don't want it to blend that much. So I'm going to bring it back, and I'll probably bring it up a little bit more. But another thing that you can do also is if you want to have more of a technique into it, you can do like cross hatching to kind of blend into that. And I have this really cool brush here, and it kind of acts like this in a way. You see that texture. So if I bump it up, you get this kind of texture like this. Acts as kind of cross hatching, and I really love this one. And I might even bring this down, and what this will do is it'll give more of a comic look in the blend. There we go. I think that's going to work quite nicely for a blend. And what I'll do is I'll link this brush to you guys. So I'll give you all this brush, which is a really handy brush. It's one of my favorites because like you can literally draw like really hard and straight, or if you'd lightly press, you'll get the really fine lines. Now it does come across a little jittery sometimes, but you can clean those up a bit. So I quite like that, and I think that's going to work pretty well for our latex. Now, if you didn't have access to any of this kind of brush, or you don't have Photoshop and you want to do a similar thing, usually an artist would just do it traditionally, get you a thin kind of sharp brush and start doing some cross hatching. You can even just start sketching it in like that and then go thicker as you go down. And that also works. You see that? You get like a comic kind of blend, and then you can press all the way to a near black, like the same tone as you go down, you see? And that is also a really nice effect, and we might do a bit of both. But yeah, for now, I think I might go with this technique here for our kind of blends of the latex. So it like gives it that kind of gradual fade into like a darker color. And as you look, it doesn't go to a complete darker color. I really like how it's got those tiny little breaks. From a distance, it can be quite attractive to look at. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to try and do a few more of these kind of blends with that, and we'll see how we go. I don't want it to be an overload of this. I don't want to overuse it, so I'm just going to try and be smart about it. Because the thing with latex, you don't want to give it some kind of texture like that. It doesn't have any rough textures. If you look at any latex, it's usually shiny, sharp, and clean cut. So we want to make sure we keep a lot of that around. Another really cool thing with this brush as well is you can use it in the eraser. So select the brush in the eraser as this one, and I can start chipping away and erasing some parts as well. So I like that personally as well, because I can start to chip away and reverse this kind of technique. Okay, there we go. So I've just added in some subtle kind of little sketchy cross-hatching kind of things around. Just like parts like this, I've really got it kind of cut off quite sharp, but it still is there. I don't want it to be super obvious, so it's just in little parts here and there, and it just gives a bit of a gradual kind of gradient across the character. That's kind of how I want to make it work. And again, I'll link this brush in for you guys. But also, yeah, if you don't, you can just sketch it in, just do sketchy lines, and that'll give you that nice effect. But remember, you don't even have to. So if you really wanted to do something different, you would just do a soft brush, and that could be your style. You know, maybe you'll just do it like this, and you'll just do like a nice soft edge. But personally, I like the comic style a little more, and I think doing this is definitely going to give it a bit more of a graphic novel kind of vibe, or just, yeah, artistic touch. All right, so the next thing I want to do is we're going to go all out now. We're going to try and get that chrome effect. So what I'm going to do, make a new layer just in case, and just get some big selections with the lasso tool. And it doesn't really matter where. We're kind of following the contouring. And I'll just probably stop about there and come down. And this is just a nice big blob just coming through right through the center of the body. Now, it doesn't really matter where it goes, but it's a reflective. It might be in the middle, where you wouldn't expect something to be like this. So you see what I'm doing, and I'm really just selecting a random spot on the character, and I'm going to fill it in with a bit of a black line, and I'm kind of aiming through the middle of the character if you have a look. So you can see that's right through the middle of the breasts there, and I might just do one on the shoulder as well. And this is really going to add to that kind of chromatic kind of effect. And now I'm just going to fill it. So I'm just going to press fill, and you can see that's already making it look kind of chromatic as well. So adding that extra, reflective, whatever it would be from, really, I think it really helps. And what I'll do is I'll put a layer mask on it, and then I'm going to go through with a brush, and I'll actually select that brush that I had. And I think this will be our gradual kind of gradient. You see, I'm going to chip away at it with this, just so I can get some of that effect coming back in there again. Another thing that I really want to do as well is like chip away at it in random spots like this. So I'm going to really go bold and make some selections here. So a big circle swoosh maybe here, and I'll get rid of that. Whoops. So maybe I'll do it like that, and we'll do some random little swells that kind of cut in and out of this. Especially up here, I'll cut like a really big one out of this one on the boob, and I think that might look quite nice. And what that's going to do is that's kind of resembling, if there was a light source or a reflection coming off a bonnet, it's never just a perfect shape. So I really want to kind of have some random little swells that come off certain parts of this. Even simple stuff like breaking off a little swell off the edge of it like this. And I think that, just like that, and I think that's going to look quite nice as well. That'll work. I feel like this needs another level of kind of shading under there somewhere. Okay, so I think underneath all this, I'm going to make a new layer with a, just literally just like a sharp brush, normal sharp brush. I'm going to start going underneath, but I'll take the opacity down to like 50%, so half of that. And now I'm going to start just going around, and I think, yeah, I really think it needed this, just another level of some kind of shading, because it's just too sharp right now. And I'm only doing this just at a little subtle kind of thing, so I'll even take bits of this bit away, and it's just going to be like that extra level that bounces off this black. You see that? And I've got this other level now, so I'll do another bit around here, around the boob area, and I'll show you. I kind of just want it to, bounce off that a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, I think that really needed that, so I just did that extra level. So here on the knee, you can see it, especially that. I'll take it off, and then on, you can kind of see I really kind of needed that extra level of shading underneath. I think it was just looking too flat, like too simple. So 1 and 2, it was like, yeah. So anyway, so there's that. I just added an extra level, so remember that. And I did fade it right back to about 45% at the moment. So it's only a light kind of extra touch on the shading, so an extra level of shading. All right, now we need to do some, really nice highlights, and that'll really start to bring this, bring it together a little bit more. Okay, so time for some lighting. Now, this extra chrome effect that I added on top, this one, so I want to actually have the lighting underneath that, and the reason being is because I kind of want to, remember what I said, it's like a mirror, so chrome or this latex material is kind of, it acts as a little mirror as well. So think of this black streak that is just coming right through the middle. Think of that as like a structure that is in front of her, whether it's a pole or a beam or something standing up straight. And then behind that figure or that beam is a light source. So I want to have kind of like so behind it, see how I'm going behind? And there's going to be like as if there's some kind of light source behind that. So that's kind of what you want to try and aim for. Now what I'm using here is just like a soft, it actually has sharp edges, but the lighter I press, the more opaque it is. So it's actually like opacity, but the harder I press, it's full strength color. So I've actually selected like a light near a white, and I'm just going to start going through, and I'll add this into the brush set as well when I release this tutorial. So I'm just going to go up there a bit like that. I can go over again and press a little lighter, and that'll add just that second level there, which is really nice. But I really want some light bouncing off this hip, so I'm really going to press quite hard around here and then swoop up, and then I want some hard light right there as well, right on there, and then I'll just erase that out from under the boob. And this is only rough, so I'm kind of just whacking it in right now. There we go. So I'll do one nice big circle, and then I might go over a second time with a lighter press, and you see how that's kind of done a nice effect there. I'm going to do it again here with a light press, and then I might go over a second time with a little bit of a harder press. Now if you didn't have this kind of brush, you could also do it just like this. You could actually have your own selection. So selection, get your soft blurred brush, and then you do a once over, and then you could do another selection, get your brush out, and then do a harder press, and you'll get the exact same kind of effect. Now I'm going to aim for the collarbones a little bit more. See how sometimes I'll do like a big circle, kind of oval, and then I'll press a little harder in the middle. That's just resembling like a light that might be above. It's good when you get to little parts like this, where there's creases, because you can just start to think of light really bouncing off that edge as the crease is there. So I'm pushing hard there, I might have a bit of a swell. Sometimes you can just whack it in like this, and I think that works quite well. So we can just do something like that, and you'll really get that shiny, super chromatic effect there. Alright, so that's one level of the shine. We got that nice shiny effect, and I'd say that's coming from one light source, the main one, which would be like this one from above. And I will be playing with this a little bit, so it's not so intense like through this mid-body section here, stuff like that. I need to kind of do some fades and things like that to kind of help this. But yeah, what I want to do now is do a new layer, another one, and let's just go over again, because I need a lot more detail over this side of the body and things like that. So I need to start thinking about some other random light sources that are kind of reflecting, you know. So I might have one that kind of swoops up. So do like a medium kind of grey, maybe like that. And maybe it does get a little bit stronger as it gets up onto the rib cage there. Maybe just doing like a double take over that. Stuff like that. And I really like how I really want this to come and bounce off, kind of bounce off where the abs might come and run up the side of the body there to get that 3D effect, so you can see the contouring of the body there and the hips. And I do feel like that one's just, we need to kind of gradient that one out a little bit more right there. And we also want to kind of have something, you know, reflecting off the under boob, you know, area. So I'm really going to just make a big selection underneath the kind of boob there. And then I'll go through again with like a soft, I might even go blurred brush, and just start brushing in like a bit more of a, yeah, something like that. So on the other boob as well, I'll just do like a bit of a, yeah, just real subtle like that. And that's really going to start to get that glossy effect. So you see these kind of selections. So I'm just really thinking about that big kind of a light source, maybe underneath. That's what this one's going to be as well. We can probably start to get that shape a little bit more like this. So if I erase out of the other one as well, and if I just erase a bit like that, so we still get that kind of circle shape, as if there's somewhere down here there's like some under kind of light source. I don't know, and unless it's like something white, like a big white ball or something like that that's reflecting off. It could be anything. So it's just like an extra reflection, really getting that glossy feel now. So I might even do a little bit up here. I've made a really quick selection. I'm going to do a once over. You see that? And that's going to, as if there's another kind of light source over there somewhere. So this little ball that I put in that's bouncing over the black there, and here too, let's make them whiter now. So just, they don't have to be super white, just a little bit like that. And that's really going to help a lot. So definitely underneath the leg, you know, that's actually going to probably have a slight color of this creamy brown color. So that's going to reflect parts of the, yeah, whatever's underneath. And we'll get to that later. But I really need to try and start getting in some detail in this leg here. It's just too flat. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to do a slight kind of colour of whatever that is there. So just slightly. I still want it to stay quite dark on that leg, but yeah, we need some kind of detail there. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to sample this kind of light blue and start putting some of that back in around the edges of the character. You see what I'm doing here? We really want to bring a bit more of that back in, and this is also going to add to that chromatic effect. So doing it a bit like that. And now what I'm also going to do, now that we've got that, is select again, but this will be near a white kind of edge. And then I'll start to brush that in a little bit more around there as well. So quite hard up there if I want to. But the lower it gets, the less intense it'll be, because it's she's sitting down and there's not really going to be much light here. So I want it to be all the way up the side there. See there, just up on the side of that boob, I really kind of had, another light reflection using this kind of color here, just to match the side of her body there. Really, you want to make sure that you get that boob there as well. So there we go. And I'll do the same here underneath the actual arm as well. So I'll go and get that nice kind of bluey color underneath as well. So I might even do that bluey color kind of there, but then I'll go over again, I think, with the soft brush and do that kind of light. Really want to have like an edge light coming over as well. So I've just did like a little bump there where the ear might be. And now I'm going back over again, but with a stronger light. That white light might catch just on the edge there, really have her neck kind of pop out a bit. And I've also got starting to think about little creases now, so maybe we'll have a couple of little bumps here and there, and definitely one on top where the ear is, and then up, and then really have that light quite intense on the rim there. I think that'll look quite cool. Alright, so I need to do a little bit more detail in the face around the skull, so I might have like an inner light that kind of tucks in, maybe swoops up. So there we go, something like that'll do, I reckon. Cool, so we're getting there now. Like I said before, I need to tone down and think about some of these sharper, these lines here, so I might actually start chipping away at those a little bit more. And I'm also finding some of them it's just a bit too intense. I do want it to be super white, but if I fade it back like that, so much more better. You got to really make sure we get that value right. So I'll just show you, I had a layer mask on it, so I'll turn the layer mask off. That's what it was before I started fading these back, and that's what it is now. You see, just a nice difference. So what I like to do is make a new layer above everything, and then I'm just going to go to little bits like this. Like, remember how we did like this area here? So we're going to be doing a lot more of that. So let's just we've got to think of creases, little creases and little wrinkles. That's really going to just amp this up a lot more. So I'd say probably, under this boob area, I'm going to sample. So we're just going to do heaps of sampling, and you're going to sample little bits here and there. So I'm going to sample the brightest part. And I'm just going to start with a sharp brush. I'm going to start just chipping away underneath there. I might even sample that dark area and then go back. So I'm really just chipping away with it like that, and I think that looks quite nice like that. Now you've got this nice little wrinkle that goes all the way under. And you got to think of these little, get the shine, and really just keep that running. So you'll get areas like this up in the middle of the boob, and we'll just try and think of that, and then I'm just really shining that up right up there, and that's just going to really top this off. So up that little zipper, seam lines and things like that. Think of the material and where everything's going to, so I'm going to sample that. Like threads. So I'm going up here where this thread just keeps going and adding some little detail to that as well. So I'll sample just the normal mid-tone here, and I'll go right up on that seam there. And then I might grab maybe a lighter color and really just start chipping away at some of those details like that. And again, I'm getting a nice bright color there, and I'm going around the edge, the whole edge of this this seam here. So I want to really brighten that up. And then what I'll do is I'll get that bright part. I'm also, see that? It's like a bit of a wrinkle. You can even go like this. You can go like, jot it right in like that. And I think that looks pretty cool. You got to think where the arm is lifting, it's wrinkling the material a little bit there. So I'm going to add some detail like that. You see that? I think that's quite cool. Around here especially, wrinkling through the arm. So I'm going to have a nice massive wrinkle come through there, down, and then we'll just continue that down through here. And then we'll finish it with one just down there. And then I can get my highlight and then go over again, but just in a smaller little section like that. And I think that's going to work quite well. And I recommend doing this for just any character that you do. If you feel like you're finished, so you're like without the detail, if you feel like you're finished, like, and it's done, how about like make a new layer above and start doing what I'm doing now and sampling, and then just adding in just some final touch details, and you'll see what happens. It really just amps it right back up again. And it's all about refining. So I'm just going to get sections like this. I feel like that just looks a bit sloppy there, so I'm just going to go through and start tidying around these knuckle areas. I really want them to look a bit more tidier and cleaner. Okay, there we go. So I'll show you without detail and with detail. So without and with. Let me zoom in. I'll show you around this whole area here. So without and then with. You can just see that final touch really just brings it to life a bit more. So yeah, definitely worth just adding some final touches to it, I'd say. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, now what we have to do is I'll just make a new layer folder, and I'm going to get all of that render, that whole thing, put it in the folder, close the folder, and then I'm going to duplicate it, hide the original, and I'll just merge that big one. So now this is completely flattened now. The reason I'm doing that is I just want to add some, I want to do my final touches to it. So I'll probably get things like maybe the burn tool, zoom out, and I've got it set to shadows. And I might just see what happens if I go over and start to darken some parts, like definitely that bottom leg. I want it to be pretty much pitch black. But I would also get the dodge tool, and I have it set to highlights, and I might just go right over the top and just give it a nice bit of an ambient kind of glow around maybe the chest area. Just anything that's bright, I want to enhance it even more. Another thing that you can try as well, now that this is flattened, might duplicate the whole thing, go to color modes, and I like to set it to soft light and see what happens. Now you see it just makes it extra chromy and dense. It makes it really dense, but I don't want it that dense, so I'm going to go levels, and then I'm going to just amp that up, like brighten it up, maybe amp up those highlights, press OK, switch it on and off and see what that looks like. But then I'll just take the opacity probably down to like 45%. It's just an extra touch, so I'm going to definitely add that on. So I'll press, so I might even lower that more. I feel like I need to bring it down to about 25%. It's just a little extra touch. Okay, so that's good. Another thing you can try out just for fun, I'll just duplicate, and I'm going to go levels, and then I'm going to literally pull up the midtones really bright, just to see what this looks like, and then pull in the shadows like a lot, and that's really bringing out a lot of details as well. So I really like the way that's kind of working. Don't worry, that's not what it's going to look like. This is just what I do. And then I'll switch between to really just, my eyes are now adjusting so I can see the difference. What would it look like if I went super chromatic, and then what's it look like when I had it and I was nearly going to just leave it. So now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I feel like I really need to change the levels up so that we can get way more contrast in the black parts of them, and I need to show my midtones more. So you could even just get that, put it on top, fade it down, the opacity down to like 30%, and that's going to do its job for me. So it's really bringing up the midtones more now. And I can take it down to 25 if I want, just lower and lower until I feel like I'm happy that's bringing up those kind of mid-tones and really showing off that chromatic effect even more. So that's just what I want to do. Yeah, so I feel like that's helped a lot just by doing that, which is good. What I might do now, so I'm going to go through and I'm actually darkening to pure black in some areas here. So I might even make another selection around that leg like that. And I might go down and just make some parts that I know are going to be pure black, like under that knee. Definitely under this leg here. And now that I've got that whole selection, I've literally just gone around and tried to select bits that I want to be pure black. So it's going to be like basically inks, these selection parts. So here, now I'm going to go levels. I'm just going to bring them to pure black like that. Yeah, that has helped a lot actually. So if you look through, it's only subtle, but if you look up the side of the head, now we've got some of that pure black kind of detailing there. If I switch it on and off, under the arm, everything. So I think that's really helped a lot. We need to make sure that we have some heavy dark black solid stuff in there. Yeah, so that's nearly done now. All I want to do now is do some colorizing. So I'm going to make a new layer above our color, our thing, and I'm going to go color, select the color mode to color, get a brush. So I might just get that kind of soft kind of brush. If I sample, say, these sacks, and then I'll go and start brushing over, it's going to match that color. So you see that? I really want to try and match some colors that are going to be around the room. So for instance, up here, this wallpaper, start brushing, and as if some of those are reflecting off that wallpaper there. So around the ears. And that's really going to bring it in and make it seem a lot more realistic and natural, like it's bouncing off the room and reflecting everything around it. So, and then also I want to try and just go through the actual body, and we're going to colorize just certain parts, like so through this arm here. I just really want to have some nice colors kind of bouncing off around. It's all mixed, so it's not just one single kind of grayish tone. I've got some blue kind of tones coming through, maybe like a purple. See that? See how it's kind of more bluish now? I just like mixing it up, and I'm only doing it in certain parts. Other parts might be a different kind of tone. So there we go. That's it for the latex. It's all done. So that the latex side of things, that is complete. It's very tricky. It's always been such a tricky thing, but it's a good mix of almost metallic but materialistic as well, with the creases and the folds. So the last final touches really kind of bring that together. And then we have that kind of cross-hatching effect, which is good. But again, you can do that with a pencil. If you're just going to start sketching, you just do sketchy lines, and you can do a nice little comic fade, just to help blend those dark, solid dark shadows in a bit more, so that they're not all just big giant blobs. They kind of gradual out with some sketchy lines. So that's a good way of doing. All right, now I'm going to go through. I'll try and finalize the face. I'm going to do all the rendering on the face. Try and finalize a few things on this piece so it actually looks like a full kind of, a bit more presentable. Let's do that. Okay, there we go, all done. So I've just finished doing just a face and a few little, just a couple of little details around the thing. It's not finalized at all. I really want to get into all this jewelry and the money and the cats. Got to finish the cats and everything as well. Still not 100% sure about that background. I might go maybe whether I'm going to go just like a subtle blue or whether I do the pink. I think the pink feels like it's taking away a bit. I want to go like a pink purple kind of tone, but I don't know. I'll figure all that out later. It's kind of like that blue now I look at it. But yeah, that's it. All done. So yeah, I hope that helps understand how, like, some techniques on latex and how to approach it maybe. So I hope that helps. I think one of the big things to think about when doing latex, yeah, like I said, was just think about it like a mirror that's reflecting some object. So in the foreground, so that kind of shape that's coming right up the middle of the body. So if I was rendering a normal body, I wouldn't have any kind of big black streak going through at all. Especially here on the arm, you see that? I wouldn't have that usually, and I have that in this because it's reflecting like a mirror and reflecting other stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how I would do it. I kind of like how this kind of an effect, it's almost like a modernized, futuristic kind of an effect too. I sometimes like to think that it's also acting as a texture, like a suit texture, but I like it. I kind of wanted to treat it more like a cross-hatching, sketchy effect. But yeah, anyway. Alright, well, I hope that helps. That's it. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll be coming up with some more tutorials soon. Come up with some new ideas. And I'll try and work out what we're going to do next. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one. And I'll see you later.